Halo Combat Evolved is a masterclass in aura and atmosphere. Hit it, Chief. From the depths of a swamp overrun with space zombies to the tan, pixelated sands of a tropical paradise, Halo CE revolutionized first-person shooters back in 2001. The enemy AI was groundbreaking. The open level design transformed exploration, and the dual analog controls were perfected for efficiency. Even though the series might be heading down the toilet today, there's no denying its importance and status. However, there is one aspect of Halo CE that has been completely neglected by video essayists and game journalists alike: the atmosphere. To put it simply, it's immersion, or what immerses you. Atmosphere is why you remember so many iconic video game moments. It's the first time you leave the cave in Skyrim. It's that opening nighttime chase sequence in Dying Light. And it's even those quiet little sexy footsteps of that twink Leon Kennedy in that masterful precinct. With that being said, the level of aura Halo CE has is just completely unmatched. It oozes atmosphere from its zombified alien tendrils. So join me in a trip back to 2001, where the polygons are sharp and the atmosphere is one of one forever. Halo Combat Evolved opens up during an intergalactic chase sequence. We are aboard a UNSC ship called the Pillar of Autumn, and while we don't have any information on why we're on the run or what this ring is, we do know one thing: the enemy is coming, and we're completely out of time. Well, I'm glad I'm getting to finish off these space stellas before the world ends. What are you gonna do before we die, Peter?
Crack?
Huh? The Pillar of Autumn is an extremely linear level meant to serve as a basic combat tutorial for the player. And while it is simple in design, I think classifying it as just a tutorial level is kind of underselling it. Progressing through the beginning of the level makes you much more aware of your surroundings because we don't even have a weapon yet. The aliens are at first draped in shadow, only to be seen by the light of the plasma when fired. Marines are cowering in corners while others try to fight something they've never seen before. Pods filled with aliens rush through the empty holes left by our Marines trying to escape. Bodies of both sides litter the gray floors with blood splattered everywhere. Bob? Bob, is that you? Ugh. That's for cutting me in the lunch line on Space Enchilada Day, you dickhead. Crew members are exploding and aliens are waiting behind closed doors. It's absolute chaos. The music is also exciting but grand, like we're beginning something new. An alarm blares mixed with angelic voices, drums, orchestral accents. It's beautiful. This is your first 10 minutes with Halo CE, and it does such a great job of springing you into something and letting you loose. It's perfect because there's so much world building that's happening around you, and we haven't even really started the game yet. Running around the Pillar of Autumn is like a giant maze. Many of the rooms look similar, some of the hallways seem endless, and darkness drapes corners like a blanket. I understand that some of the repetitiveness is due to the limitations at the time, but I actually think it serves this game kind of well at certain points. Others not so much, and we'll get into those later, but in the Pillar of Autumn, at least for now, I think it serves the game pretty well. It creates this very liminal feeling, not just on the Pillar of Autumn, but all throughout the game. I just want to make sure everybody realizes and understands how atmospheric they made a gray-brown ship. Later on, you can find 3 bodies placed outside of these drop pod bays. It's safe to assume that these men died either trying to protect their friends, or maybe there just wasn't enough room on one of the drop pods, and they were forced to make one final stand. The importance of the placement of these bodies cannot be understated because it tells a visual story without dialogue, without a cutscene, or really without anything but the end result. Whatever happened ended with the deaths of these 3 soldiers, and it's up to us to create the story and fill in the blanks. It's clear from the start that the presence of a super soldier greatly improves the morale of all the soldiers. They fist pump, get more aggressive, and even hit us with a few one-liners here and there.
Cavalry has arrived.
The point is, Chief is a symbol to these soldiers. And while Chief saves as many as he can, not everyone can be saved, and the game shows you that right from the start. Besides this guy, I love how the Chief just like picks him up by his back and then makes him get on the drop pod. And I also love how one of the soldiers is like, we're gonna make it, right? And Chief just like puts his hand on him like, nah, bro, you're not gonna make it. But let's get off this rust bucket before we go down with the ship. I am not in the mood to do that. I will see y'all on this, whatever this Halo ring is, whatever this Halo thing is. All right, I'll see you there. Halo. Yeah, that's the level title. This is the Halo level. I just want to sit in the out of bounds arena in my too small of Bucky's chair and slowly die. Is that too much to ask for? After walking out of the drop pod, we are presented with quite possibly one of the prettiest pictures in the entire game. The thick green grass, the smooth rocks, the waterfall pouring in the background, the massive ring that just bends up right in front of you. It's like a liminal painting. Hello. And while the land is gorgeous, there's just something that feels, dare I say, synthetic about it. While it appears to be a forest, the trees are far apart from each other, the rocks don't vary much in color or look, and the waterfall essentially comes from nowhere. Where are the animals or bugs? Why is there no sign of life? There was one point where I stopped in the Warthog to just take in the views, and I heard birds chirp, but I never saw them. While most of this can be, traced back to the limitations of 2001, I actually think it has served this part of the game somewhat well. It feels like someone built this from a memory of Earth. Almost like someone said, describe the Pacific Northwest in 10 words or less. Bars. And that person had to create something out of that. There is beauty, but there is also a mysterious wonder and familiarity to this place. This is the definition of less is more. It is grand, it is beautiful, and it is intriguing. The music is also non-existent. In most games, you'd get a massive string section or a huge accent to help add to the scale and the beauty of what we're experiencing. Elden Ring is actually a perfect example of how to do that. But upon looking at our painting here, it's silent. And I actually think it makes the immersion even stronger as it solely relies on the atmosphere itself. Think of it this way, and I'm not picking on Elden Ring, but it's the most recent example that I have. When you go from Stormveil Castle to Liurnia of the Lakes, you get text on screen, a music accent, and subtle strings in the background, accompanied with quite possibly one of the best video game spectacles of all time. But at that same time, that whole song and dance of formulating this experience makes me sit back and go, wow, I can't believe a game looks like this. Whereas in Halo, I said, wow, I can't believe the Halo ring looks like this. There is no package of text or music to enhance what we're experiencing. The view is the package itself. And while they both have their place in their respective games, I think Halo does it more effectively and with more confidence because it solely relies on the atmosphere itself. Please, FromSoft fans, I am not attacking your game. Elden Ring is quite literally one of the greatest games of all time. I am one of you. Please trust me, I am one of you. I say again, I am one of you. I didn't realize until my latest playthrough of this game just how silent it really can be. The music is so iconic that I half expected some track to just kind of drone on the whole time. But there is so much silence to the point where sometimes you just hear Chief's footsteps or nothing at all, which makes the music hit even harder when Marty cranks it up. It's not until Cortana tells us about the search parties coming that the music slowly fades in.
I recommend moving into those hills. If we're lucky, the Covenant will believe that everyone aboard this lifeboat died in the crash.
I'm gonna bring up way more moments of music and silence, so more on that topic later, but we gotta get moving before these search parties catch us. Upon coming up a hill, we find Marines scattered about in this large structure erected from the grass. Yeah, I mean, that's maybe 10, 11 feet high at most. Wow, this is stunning. This is our first instance of seeing something truly synthetic, besides the ring itself, in this real looking world. These structures look like outposts and they're scattered all over the map. What could they need these for? What are they protecting? After defending the area, we are rewarded with a warthog and just set free. And actually, you don't even need to wait on the warthog if you don't want to. Halo is a sandbox level, meaning we can do things in whatever order we want, how we want, or when we want. The main objective is to find and save 3 squads of soldiers spread out across the map. That's it. That's all you're told. That is your directive. And you can do that however you want. There are multiple different ways to get to the sections of soldiers too, so you can drive around and do some donuts on some corpses if you want. You can do whatever. The freedom that we get during this level adds to the wonder and the scale of it all. What is this place? What is its purpose, and who built it? Below the beautiful surface is a technology source that no human has ever witnessed. There is so much to learn here, but how and when? Halo presents so many questions with its atmosphere that grab you from the start and pull you in deep by the end. Mystery is a strong theme throughout this entire game, and as the second level of 10, it does an incredible job, along with the opening of making something so interesting that you can't help but be curious to uncover the truth and reconciliation of it all. Truth and Reconciliation is a rescue mission. The Pillar of Autumn has crash landed on the ring somewhere, and they have taken Keys and the crew hostages. This is our first nighttime mission in Halo CE, but there is more to meet the eye than just the darkness because death looms above us. A massive Covenant cruiser holding our prize still sits in the valley we're dropped off in. Man, that ship's gotta be like 12, maybe even 13 feet high in the air. Yo, Jenkins, I think that ship's as big as your mom. Oh! The first thing I noticed is that we're under this massive shadow from the cruiser, and everything below it is dead. The lush grass is now rock and sand, the leaves from the trees are gone, and the branches stick out jaggedly. It's a visual representation of how wherever the Covenant goes, death follows right behind it, or death is in its shadow. Whatever metaphor you want, the point is, wherever the Covenant are, death is also there. And we are walking right into its source, right up there. This is a relatively covert op mission, but the music just gets so funky as we progress, like we're in James Bond secretly moving behind enemy lines. And the sniper rifle, are you kidding me? The Halo CE sniper rifle is just so much fun to use every single time. It's not just satisfying to use, but it also switches up the gameplay loop. Our first level is close quarters combat with an assault rifle and a pistol. Our second level is driving around in a warthog with a marine on the turret. And now we get to sit back and stealthily snipe. I guess you don't have to be stealth, but you get to sit back and snipe at the very least. But it's not the whole time, it's more of a combination of sorts. The beginning is outside on the ring in the Valley of Death, but eventually we find a gravity lift that takes us into the belly of the beast, as they say. If I go up this lift, I'm gonna shit myself. I'm just warning you right now. Oh, fuck. Oh God, I don't know what to do. There's no bathrooms here. Oh. Now we're trapped in a mysterious room with 4 closed doors surrounding us. Nothing is familiar anymore, and the Covenant has us trapped. Before we can even get our bearings, they strike. One by one, doors open and waves of enemies pour through, all while the drums start banging. This trap sets up the rest of the level perfectly because now they've created dread. The Covenant knew we were coming up and they were clearly ready for us, so what does the rest of the mission have to offer for us? What other traps could there be? It makes you really aware of your surroundings. It makes you want to check every corner with extreme caution. And it's going to make you feel like you're on your toes the whole time. The next part should feel a bit more familiar. It's like a souped up version of the Pillar of Autumn, but it's purple. Everywhere, from the hallways, to the balconies, to the vehicles, to the walls.
I love being purple!
Everything is freaking purple. It creates this dark and moody atmosphere that also feels futuristic and foreign at the same time. A stark contrast to the browns and grays of the Pillar of Autumn. While the linear pathways are similar in structure, at least they look and feel much different, which helps a lot. And they fit the vibe of their locations respectively very well. There isn't really much to see or do while walking through these paths besides bodies, enemies, and the scattered, like, moody ceiling lights. Which, on the body side, it's kind of weird seeing marine bodies in sections ahead of me. Like, how did they get there? Did the UNSC like send in troops before the Chief Squad? And why would they do that? That's essentially just a mission for death. Or did these guys get captured with keys and they like escaped the prison and were trying to get out? I don't know. I know it's just a spot to give the player ammo in the grand scheme of why they're actually here, but the little details matter. And in a video about atmosphere, this is the shit we obsess over. We eventually find ourselves in a control room where the music gets very ethereal, like we've stumbled upon something new. It's very beautiful and ambient and fits with us discovering all of these new things at once really well. Eventually we make it far enough back in the cruiser where we find the prisoner cells and we let Keys out and his boys, and now we've got to make our grand escape. And as we make our way through, we go back to the control room where all the Marines that we left were completely slaughtered. This really caught me off guard, and it's actually kind of disturbing. It's another one of those visual stories where we have to fill in the blanks. We find 2 camo elites inside, and you can kind of infer that these 2 bastards absolutely demolished any chances the Marines have of going home to their families. It's tragic, it's really tragic. They're camoed, like I said, so these poor suckers just had no chance. Their eyes are not like the Chiefs. They're not mecha soldiers like we are. They are not initiated. We are initiated. The rest of the level, like trying to make it back to the hangar, is just a lot of backtracking, which has been quite a large topic of discussion when bringing up this game in general. Some of the later levels have parts where we come back to sections of earlier ones, and that's something that we'll get into later. But ultimately, backtracking in Truth and Reconciliation is not that bad. It's a small part of the level, like it's the very end, and it logically makes a lot of sense when you think about breaking someone out of prison cells. Because yeah, I've done that before. Like, why would they put the prisoner cells right by the hangar? It obviously needs to be in the back of the ship because there's not going to be some shortcut to get out. That would make no sense. Then the prisoners could escape super easily. Like those 2 Marines we found earlier, they could have just gotten out willy-nilly. So obviously there's got to be a little bit of backtracking. But get your pina coladas ready because we are heading to a tropical paradise. Hot off the dropship, we storm onto the pixelated sands of an island infested with aliens and deep Forerunner secrets. This is just awesome. The music is blasting in the background while we slay through the Covenant with the boys. The morale is just through the roof. The iconicism of this level cannot be undersold. It's also another type of sandbox level where we can explore as much as we want or as little as we want. Another warthog is dropped off, and now there is nothing stopping you from having a nice Sunday drive along the digital sands of the island. Or you can take a nice stroll like my friend Anthony here. Hey, Tony. The grass is a contrasty dark green that meets the sands. The trees are tall and the rocks aren't smooth anymore. There are even like these broadcast boxes emitting these eerie sounds that we can't understand. Every single environment that we've been in on this Halo ring has been different. Obviously that helps keep the game feel fresh, but it also adds to that synthetic feeling that we talked about earlier. However, the beauty on this map on the outside can be very misleading because in truth, the innards are something much more sinister. Like a reverse Sour Patch Kid. First they're sweet, then they're sour. That is the Silent Cartographer in a nutshell. The reason we're here in the first place is to find a map room that will lead us to the control room of this actual Halo ring itself. Somewhere in the depths of this island is our prize. And the inside is where things get real spooky. The Silent Cartographer is where I believe the horror elements really start. It's like a little teaser trailer for what's to come. All the levels have some degree of mystery and wonder and creepiness due to how liminal they all feel, but the genuine horror aspects are coming into play real soon. One of the first buildings you enter moves you down a ramp. Boxes litter the floors to the point where it's hard to see in front of you. The music is eerie and suspenseful, and then 2 hunters come from around the corner. You can't tell me that this section just is not horror movie coded. I also totally respect that the game just totally relied on the hunters themselves instead of some music jump scare accent, because that would have made it kind of cheesy. That would have made it feel a little less impactful in my opinion. And I think it's smart enough and confident enough in what it's built around you that the creepiness and the scariness just comes through with what you're watching. Another example is when you first enter the main building and that elite is in that door in front of you. It puts the idea in your head that somewhere, somehow, a gold elite with an energy sword is lurking about. And we have no idea where he went or where he'll be.
Merry Dickmas, Santa Cock!
That's right.
You're a disappointment to your parents, who I fucked!
We'll work on that, we'll work on that. We even come back to this exact section in the middle of the level and he is nowhere to be found. Now you're really spooked. It's not until the very end of the level that this whole song and dance gets paid off. Not only does this play into the rule of thirds, like this is the third time we're seeing him, rule of 3, but it also pays off something set up at the very beginning. And now we have expectations that things that are set up will pay off in the future at some point. Overall, I'm here to sit my butt down by the soft waves, drink my booze, listen to the Covenant propaganda on loop so that I can eventually become a religious agent and do the bidding of a galactic space tribe, and enjoy my tropical paradise. I hope you guys can join me. And while I have enjoyed my tropical paradise, it's kind of hot here. I think I'm in the mood to go somewhere snowy. Assault on the Control Room is the first of our truly repetitive levels in Halo CE. Most of the time you'll be progressing through similar looking rooms broken up by these transitional periods on a bridge where you get a taste of what's below and above. Most of the level is very linear, but on the inside there's these arrows that will point you in the right direction, so unless it's your very first playthrough, you can run past this section with ease on lower difficulties at least. The real joy to be had on AOTCR is when the game opens up to the Snow Valley. And that is where the magic starts, because of one thing: snow. Snow just looks so good in Halo CE. I can't put my finger on it, but it just does. It gives me this cozy, nostalgic feeling when you're just walking through it and you hear the cool breeze hit your ears and the Chief's footprints in the powder. Seeing the flurries in the sky and the gusts of ghostly wind really add to the freezing feeling like the atmosphere provides. I'm not really sure that they intended this level on having this like comforting vibe, but as I've aged and as the level has aged, that's exactly what it feels like to me. Just comfortable. It's just become this incredibly homey map to me. So, wait, no. Oh, god damn. If only I knew what to do. Shit. The trees have a light frosting, rocks are frozen over, and the tops of valleys are hidden in white fog. This level is just a winter wonderland, especially when you get the epic money shot when you leave the Forerunner structure for the first time. I mean, holy shit. Can you imagine just bleeding out here? Are you kidding me? What really sells this level for me is the choice of combat when the linear path becomes wide and it turns snow-covered and it's outside. When basically once you get out of the Forerunner structure, the combat completely changes. You can walk the path, you can get in a Warthog with the boys, you can hijack a Ghost, you can patrol in Sheila, the worst tank in all of Halo, or even fly around the Banshee by the end of it. The choices may not be endless, but it's enough to where multiple replays of this level can feel wildly different depending on how you tackle each section with enemies. Normally I just try to blow through the parts inside and then really savor and slow roll all the sections on the outside. And one thing I noticed from the start is just how much music is in this level. Like there were multiple tracks that played one after another to the point where I noticed. It kind of caught me off guard with how seldom the music has been used up to this point. It's not a bad thing by any means because of how much they slap, but it was something that I noticed. And the music really helps elevate this cozy winter wonderland feeling. Overall, if you combine snow and open vehicle combat in Halo, I will be there day one. I'm a total sucker for this, and I probably always will be, but watch out for those wraiths because they can really sneak up on you. Be careful. Finally, here we are. the dank swamps of 343 Guilty Spark, the level with the most atmosphere and aura in all of Halo. Yeah, I said that. To make this easier on myself, I'm going to separate this level into two sections, the before and the after. If you've played 343 Guilty Spark, you probably know what I'm talking about. But for those who haven't, buckle up and prepare for an adventure of cinematic proportions. Massive fallen tree trunks are spread all over the hills of the swampy bog. Some trees stick out of the earth like hands scooping back into the mud. A haze drapes over the watery surface, caked in dark, disgusting browns and greens. A UNSC ship sits sunken into the ground. A staticky signal impairs whatever distress code the Marine on the other side is entering.
I'm over here stroking my dick. I got lotion on my dick right now. I'm just stroking my shit. I'm horny.
We are completely dwarfed in this environment, and that's saying something as a 7-foot-tall super soldier. Everything is large and you feel like an ant, hopeless and alone. As we move closer to the main structure, something runs away into the fog. What is that thing? Huh? What? What was that? It looks humanoid, but looks can be deceiving. By the time we find the entrance, a squad of Covenant run out as fast as they can, completely ignoring the chief. Whatever they found or saw deep within this structure can only be described as horrifying, as it was enough to scare a group of galactic aliens made up of all sorts of different races. We enter. It's silent and lonely. That is, until the elevator comes up and greets us.
Do you see me fucking laughing?
The fact that the elevator comes up without a prompt adds to the horror element so much, almost as if we are being invited down. We are meant to find out what's going on beneath the surface, like the structure is alive itself. We finally find signs of life. The Covenant are split around different parts of the underground. Some are alive and some are completely ripped apart. Who did this, Marines or something else? What we do know is that Keyes, Johnson, and a squad of Marines all came here looking for some sort of weapons cache buried beneath the surface. What we don't know is what happened to them. And as we move further into the depths, there is nothing. No sign of life. Not until we find a Marine.
Stay back! Stay back! You're not turning me into one of those things!
Yeesh, I think he's lost his
Your
marbles,
brains out.
Chief.
Get away
What do you
from
think?
me! Ah, 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 ah. Just
Well, couldn't we have tried some, like, hot soup or a blanket or something? Why'd you have to resort to just killing him?
Screw your soup and blanket, you whiny baby.
Fine, Mr. Grumpy Pants. God. Inside the room, blood stains the walls. There's a fire that's broken out. And there's all these black marks all over the ground. We keep moving through the blood-soaked hallways until we stumble upon something different. Thankfully, the Marine's helmets have some sort of recording device on it, so we can play back whatever this Marine saw.
Right, well, let's get this door open.
I'll try, sir, but it looks like these Covenant worked pretty hard to lock it down.
Just do it, son.
Yes, sir.
The subtle background beeps and boops mimic a heart rate, and the increased anxiety of the Marines makes them jumpy and afraid. Then, something busts out from the door. What are those things? Now we see it. That is the before. The first half of 343 Guilty Spark is like a horror mystery film on steroids. The music is limited to mostly like growling noises and deep basses. Nothing to be too intense yet. It's all about asking questions and trying to uncover the truth, or waiting for it to find you. The atmosphere is carefully crafted to make you feel alone and afraid, because you are. Cortana isn't even with us this time. And the fact that Chief is always silent and Cortana isn't there to yap or break the tension with words, it's insanely creepy. There is really nothing like it in any other Halo game, and we haven't even finished the mission yet. So let's talk about the after. Slowly, these little creatures, popcorn flood as they are called, pour through the doors all around you, and now you're trapped. Deep inside this Forerunner structure with no objective but to survive and get out. The main door shows us our first peek at the combat forms. Reanimated bodies of Marines and aliens alike swarm after the Chief as we try to make our great escape. The music is like this plucky, sinister type beat. I don't know anything about music theory, but what I can tell you is that this music, while we're doing this escape, makes me feel some type of way. It's adventurous and intense and eerie all at the same time, and it sounds like this alarm is going off. The tension is just immaculate. And your butt will be puckered during the after, the entire time. Rooms showcase the flood forms fighting the Covenant, and we're caught in the crossfire. Every time you turn around and look behind you, the flood are coming. There is never a moment of peace during this escape, and the atmosphere won't let you forget that. After fighting our way through the maze-like structure, we come back to the surface, and we're actually greeted with a bunch of Marines. And they're terrified, rightfully so. So am I. Thankfully, we do have a ship incoming that's gonna pick us all up and take us away, but we have to get back to the main landing zone, which is through the jungle forest section, like the bog, essentially. Flood forms come out of everywhere. The trees, the fog, ahead, behind, everywhere, non-stop. And all we can do is just sit in this nasty ass water and try to survive until the help lands. But then this floating orb, a monitor as they are called, appears to the Chief. And he's like, hey, I need your assistance. Someone let out the flood. Let's go. And we teleport away. Are the Marines gonna make it out? I don't know. All we can do is carry on. Once again, another example of how the Chief can't save everyone. Except this time, we're kind of left with a loose end because I guess you can assume that they get picked up, but we never really get any closure on that. And it's not that important, but these guys and gals have families, so someone's got to think of them. But wow, what a freaking level. It's really hard to put into words everything that 343 Guilty Spark makes you feel because there are so many emotions at once. The best way I knew how to go about it, just in my own personal experience, it was to split it into two sections, the before and the after, like I said, because it's almost like two separate levels in one. The before is mysterious, creepy, and lonely, whereas the after just turns into this action horror masterpiece. The flood really shakes up the gameplay in such a great way. It makes this game feel fresh every time I come back to it because of how aggressive they are and the number of them that swarm you. Like I said before, this Halo mission, it probably has the best atmosphere in my opinion out of all of the games. Comment down below your favorites. But that doesn't mean we don't have some bangers coming up. Oh no, because we got a lot to talk about. We are only halfway through this game, so this next one's for you bookworms out there. Welcome to the library, probably the most controversial and polarizing level in Halo CE. Known for its deep, dark colors, repeating corridors, and waves of endless flood. Man, I can't see shit in here. As for the library goes, all I found was this shitty encyclopedia. It's actually not shitty. I personally enjoy this level. It has its problems that I'll get into, but if I had to pick a side, I would consider myself a library enjoyer. This place feels so ancient, yet it's quite clean for a place that hasn't been awake in years or centuries or however long. Where's the dust or cobwebs or anything alluding to the fact that it is an ancient place? See, I've got my string cheese on the ground here and I feel comfortable enough eating it. That's how confident I am in the help here. It's really not that bad of a place. Like, sure, there's some stains on the ground here and there, but like I said, the help is just right over there. He's been cleaning, I've been watching him, so while the colors and the structures are quite cool to look at, they get old pretty fast. The only saving grace this level has is the flood itself. I enjoy fighting the flood. I always have. And during the library, it's like you're constantly being attacked. Something is constantly chasing you. Except for the elevators, nothing really happens there, so I hope you have some patience. I haven't had this much patience since I was a doctor. But what sucks is that the pacing is completely destroyed by these stupid defend the area while I work on this door sections. It kills any and all momentum that this level has going for it. Elevators, I can give a pass because it's kind of a transitional period between each floor, but with these stupid defend the door parts, there's nothing that I can do but wait, and it's just time-based. It's just stupid. Once, okay, whatever. Twice, better stop soon. 3 times, you can keep that. I don't want any of that. Also, as you fight for your literal life from all directions, the Guilty Spark is just spewing lore and exposition that's pretty important to understand what you're doing in the game itself. But it's hard to pay attention when death sporadically lunges at you around every corner and every dark hallway. At least the shotgun makes it a little bit easier. The music is also an interesting one here, I would say. It's very ambient with tracks thrown in to help with the pace or to add to the creepy atmosphere. Droning noises play to kind of add to the scale and the largeness of this place. But most of the time, you're gonna be listening to the flood's grunting, gurgling noises, or the chief's footsteps, or the spark yapping. He does that a lot. The sound effects and the soundscape that they've created is probably more impactful and important than the music itself on this level, at least. I believe this is the only level that doesn't have the Covenant as an enemy type, so it's a much more ambient arena musically than exciting, I would say. With all of that being said, the vibes are spooky, the chases are fun, and the level itself isn't too long. You also have to remember that I'm playing on a lower difficulty because this is a video analysis and it's not based on the legendary version of the game. Because why in truth's name would I make a video about atmosphere and then subject myself to Halo CE Legendary? I already did that once, never doing that again.
That is amazing. And you, my friend, are a true hero. Not because of what you do for a job, but because of what you've overcome.
Aw, shucks, man, you're way too kind. All because I did Halo CE on Legendary? Like, that's so nice of you to say. I'm sure I'll never regret showing you my face or anything, right? Why are your eyes turning red? We have officially entered the end game of Halo CE, where the rest of the levels all have some form of backtracking or repetition. However, this is a night snow level, so I kind of have to give it some props for that. The nighttime mixed with the snow makes it feel even more liminal than AOTCR did. It's pretty impressive. If Assault on the Control Room was a movie, it would be like the 1969 Frosty the Snowman. Nostalgic, cozy, family-friendly, your grandma can get down to it. However, if 2 Betrayals was a movie, it would be like Krampus. Not the movie you want to watch with grandma. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit. The point is that while the 2 levels look similar, the feeling, the vibe, the tone, polar opposites, very different. The vibe is much more somber than exciting. But the mission starts off with us riding high, the music is blasting, we're running through the Covenant like it's nothing. However, we will soon find out that it's not just the Covenant near this control room. The first time we're introduced to the Flood on 2 Betrayals, the music fades out and they just appear. No grand entrance, no music notes, just the Flood.
Okay, we are cooked. Yep, we are absolutely cooked, chat. GG.
It's incredibly impactful, and it's something that they've already done twice already that I've talked about. And after the main Flood entrance happens, the music is pretty much gone the rest of the time. And after the Flood is introduced, that main hype up music is gone. It's droning noises with the sound of wind, like life has been sucked out of the game itself. Next time you play Halo CE, or if you haven't, That's your homework. Pay attention to sections where the Flood are introduced or the Flood come in. The music is rarely there. The bridge sections are also just absolutely insane as well. Seeing the Flood just hop right over from the other side is terrifying and sort of plays with our expectations from before. Like the last time we were here, the Covenant was not doing that. It's just another really fun way to let you know that the Flood means business and they will get to you however necessary. The end of the level is probably the highlight in my opinion. Besides just flying around in the Banshee, that's always fun, especially on the snow maps. It's just so much fun. But what we get to do at the very end is explore this war zone between two different factions. Sometimes it's just fun getting to watch NPCs fight one another and then see them all shocked when we show up. And I know this isn't the first time that we've seen these two factions fight together, but the scale of it all just adds so much to it. That's what this level has going for it. Snow at night, NPC fights, and scale. Keys is a blast and is almost everything I wish the library was. I'll explain shortly. We have returned to TNR for another rescue mission. However, the Flood got here first, and we are about to drop into pandemonium. To get around a hole in the ship, we have to fall into an unrendered valley. Well, if I ever wanted to jump into an unrendered video game valley that looks like melted ice cream, I guess this is my chance, so here goes nothing. When it loads, it's filled with glowing coolant goop, the Flood, and the Covenant. The valleys open up to larger areas where Flood are sitting along ledges. The Covenant run around scared and confused, and we are plopped right in the middle of all of it. There are these tight corridors where the carrier forms dive bomb from the top like a Randy Orton RKO. The opening of this level is just constant stimulation, from the Flood chasing you to the Covenant shooting you, and the bright glow of plasma flying around and engine coolant sitting on the ground. Honestly, this just kind of looks like thick Sprite, so don't mind if I do. One of the main things that it's just stunning and so much fun to navigate through because of how well crafted this atmosphere is. I don't have enough insurance for this. Eventually, we make our way back onto the ship where we have to fight through these linear paths once again. However, some spots have this green and purple glow to them, signifying the power struggle through color, and I thought that was really cool. And due to how aggressive the Flood is, you really can't stay in one spot for too long, so the repetitiveness didn't really bother me. And that's because of how well the pacing is. It's quick. You get in and you get out, which is much more than you can say for the library. Just a quick note for the nerds. Remember when I pointed out all those Marines that died in a circle right here? Could that have been foreshadowing Keyes' death? Maybe, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. They could have put his body wherever on this ship, and they chose this exact spot. And also, the way Chief gets the chip from his head is just absolutely insane. Hey, Cap, I heard you're having some head problems. I got a couple things for you here. First thing I got some zinc lozenges, and I also... Was anyone gonna tell me he's a giant booger? Chief? What the hell is this? Oh, I'm not paid enough for this shit. The ending run to the hangar is just as intense as the rest of the level is, and it wraps it up so nice. This is how you do a backtrack level. Add a few different scenic areas, turn up the pace, and change some of the color hues here and there. I've always really enjoyed Keyes, and I feel like it doesn't get enough love. Yes, it's short, but it's fast-paced and it's super fun to play through. The grand finale. The Maw takes us back to the crashed and now Flood overrun Pillar of Autumn so we can detonate it and hopefully destroy Halo. So obviously this is another one of those repetitive missions because we're back on the Pillar of Autumn. And in all honesty, I hate to say this, but it's probably my least favorite of the backtracking bunch. Most of the rooms look the exact same but with a little char to them. It just doesn't really do much for me. Oh my god, it's poop. Oh my, even with the addition of the Flood, the intensity just isn't there from the start. It is cool seeing the Sentinels fight the Flood and then the Flood fight the Covenant like this gruesome three-way, but up until you get to the engine room, the levels are just a little too repetitive for me. But once you get there, we have to blow up these 4 like exhaust chambers, and you gotta do it with a grenade or a rocket launcher. And let me just tell you, sometimes throwing the grenade is not easy, especially because you're doing it all while the Flood, the Covenant, and the Sentinels are chasing you. It's fun, but it can be frustrating. While I understand like tying off this game with a nice neat little bow, we're coming back to where it all started, I just think that the amount of backtracking we've had to do up until this point is what kind of ruins this level for me. It's not a bad one by any means, and we're gonna get to the second half just in a second. But the fact that we have to backtrack so many times in a row, that is what kind of kills it for me. I think if we didn't have to do that before, this level really wouldn't be as bothersome as it is to me. But the second half, like I just said, this is where things get real epic. The iconic Warthog run. What is there to say that hasn't been said already? The music is blaring. Everything you fought up until this point, the Sentinels, the Covenant, the Flood, are all racing against the clock to get off this ticking time bomb. There's ramps to splatter enemies, different paths to drive on. It's like a linear sandbox, and it's fun every time. If you want to be that jackass that criticizes the Warthog run for the unrealistic layout, like the ship isn't obviously built this long and it would be impossible for there to be like that bridge to connect the parts. Rip Fohammer, by the way. But to that critique I say, this entire game you've been shooting aliens and ancient space zombies, and this is what trips you up? You need to go do some like soul searching or something and realize your opinion is just mega turbo ass. Mega ass.
When you get to your destination to just do a George Michael.
One thing I want to say before we wrap this video up is that in my opinion, Halo CE does not really end on a happy note. It's quite somber and foreboding and kind of introspective. While we may have destroyed the Halo ring, we've lost so many soldiers in the process. Keys, we don't know where Sergeant Johnson is at this point. We've learned about the bloodlusted religious nuts called the Covenant and the ancient intergalactic space zombies called the Flood. What else is out there? And what else escaped that ring? That's exactly why I believe Halo Combat Evolved starts with a wide shot of space and ends with one. It represents the unknown, the endless possibilities, and the fight that remains. I think the variety in level and in atmosphere level to level is why I always come back to Halo CE. It's not only just a quick and enjoyable game, but the vibes are always high every single time I play. And I feel like I'm discovering something new or looking at something new every single time, and that's pretty remarkable for a game that's like 25 years old. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. I'm just a huge Halo nerd, so if you listen to me yap this entire time, you probably are too. I cannot recommend this game enough. If you're a Halo fan or you're Halo curious, please give this game a chance. Like I said, it's very fast, it's very quick to go through, and it is so much fun. Do yourself a favor, go pick this game up. It's on Game Pass, the Master Chief Collection is out there, it's on PC as well, and supposedly it's coming to PlayStation soon, so now you got no excuses. Also, there's been a lot of buzz about like a Halo CE remake, and I think that partially inspired the making of this video. I think a good modernized version of Halo CE could be great for the series. Halo CE doesn't need a remake, but it could use a little bit of a facelift here and there for sure. I don't really like the anniversary graphics anyway, so anything is better than that, probably. Considering the continuous L's after L's Halo and the Chief have been taking, I think it's time for a W, so I'm all for it. As long as they do it well. Just don't change or retcon the story. Leave the core of the game alone and change everything around it. That would be cool. And if it's awesome, I'll be the first one to give the game its flowers. But if it sucks, I will be the first one uploading my scathing review. I will be taking my talents to YouTube to piss all over it. Anyways, my fellow Spartans, that is all I have. I'll see y'all sometime soon.